to be humble, to be kind. It is a giving of the peace in your mind, to a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is the thinking that the heart can still be saved, and the darkness can come quick. The danger's in the anger and in the hanging on to it. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. And tell me what it is that you see, a world that's full of endless possibilities. And heroes don't look like they used to, they look like you do. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. Welcome if you're here with us on this beautiful sunny day. Welcome if you're joining us from home over live stream, maybe recovering still from that all-out installation last week. Thank you all. It was good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, especially if you're visiting with us for the first time. We hope that you will feel welcome here no matter who you are, no matter how you make your living or how you experience the sacred, no matter whom you love. If you have questions about our community, there's folks at the welcome table in the atrium who are happy to answer them. And everyone is invited to go all the way across the atrium to the social hall after the service and stay for a meal, for coffee and tea after the service. Please stick around and have some conversation if you can. There's a memory book at the back of the sanctuary. You're always welcome to write a joy or a sorrow, grief or gratitude there if you'd like it read aloud during the service, or simply light a candle for a silent memory or prayer. We are in this season of living under the rainbow sign, celebrating beauty as a moral organizing principle. And today we're celebrating Earth Day too, this sense of the beauty of the earth as a call on all of us. It was J.D. Salinger said, all we ever do is go from one little piece of holy ground to the next. So glad to be on this holy ground with you all this morning. Would you rise in body or in spirit, and let's sing together. Touch the earth, reach the sky.
Touch the earth, reach the sky, walk on shores while spirits fly, over the ocean, over the land, our faith a quest to understand. Touch the earth, reach the sky, children ask the reasons why. In our lives the answers show, and by our love they learn and grow. Touch the earth, reach the sky, all are born and all shall die. Life's the time left in between, to follow a star, to build a dream. Touch the earth, reach the sky, hug the laughter, feel the cry. May we see where we can give, and this is what it means to live. Touch the earth, reach the sky, soar with courage ever high, spirits joining as we fly, to touch the earth and reach the sky.
Good morning. I'm Jason, and I'm honored to be your worship associate today. As we light our chalice with Reverend Marcus, we remind ourselves that our church occupies land in Huchion, the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. May we have the humility and the courage to do our part to restore what has been broken, and the wisdom to live into new solidarity with indigenous communities and the earth. Now let us kindle our chalice flame with these words by Shari Woodbury. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. Would you now join me in saying our covenant? Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
I want to invite any kids who are here, maybe there aren't any here today, but to come forward if you're young at heart. Oh, come on up. Yeah, excellent. And I'll come sit here with you too. We've got our last day to celebrate with our Director of Family Ministries, Heaven Walker. So Heaven's going to share a little bit with us.
So, our theme for this service is the beauty we love, right? The beauty we love. So, I wanted to share a quote with you and then teach you a way to sing this quote, if you would like. So, the quote, I believe it's by Thich Nhat Hanh. May the beauty we love be what we do. And then I was also taught, may the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. And as we're talking about Earth Day, and we're talking about beauty in this way, I think that this is a nice thing for us to remember. So I will say it, and you can repeat it after me, and then I will put it to a tune, and you can repeat the tune if you would like. So, may the beauty we love, be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. So now I'm going to sing it, and then I'll sing it line by line, and we can do it together. May the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. That's all of it together, and now we can sing it line by line. So I can sing it and you can sing it, or do we have it? Can we sing it all together? We got it. Okay. May the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. May the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Now we're going to sing it one more time, and this time you can add to it whatever you want. You know the words, sing it however you want to sing it. I'm going to do the same. May the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Beautiful, everybody. Thank you. And speaking of beauty, I have a parting gift for our kids in RE. So, who knows where the fairy garden is? Who knows what the fairy garden is? Who can tell me? Can you tell me what the fairy garden is?
A little garden next to a kinder or preschool, and it has little buildings for fairies.
It does. It's very beautiful. I have played with it before, and other kids are currently playing with it and adding new things. And I think it's a beautiful energy. And so, in this thought of beauty, I have gotten a portable fairy door, right? So this is a project that I think they're going to do for Celebration Chapel in May, where they're going to decorate this fairy door and put it against a nice tree so that the fairies know where to enter, should any like to join us, should any more like to join us. So I wish beauty to every single one of you.
Okay, and just stay up here, Heaven, for just a second. You can go on. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge we have marked seasons with you. We've marked seasons through fall and spring festivals, through winter solstices and Mother's Day crowning, through a family Beltane service and Christmas pageants, Passover seders. We have seen you walk our children, our youth, through coming of age, through rite of passage. You've mentored them and offered classes. You've seen them through a nature vigil and helped them to organize a service. You've led us in worship in times for all ages. You've offered a wedding and a memorial here. You've participated in the Black History Month services. So many blessings that you've celebrated with this community. So I want to invite us all, just as we acknowledge this parting of ways, this last day of Heavens, to just reach out a hand in blessing, and maybe a hand on your heart as well. One hand in blessing, one hand on your heart out to heaven. For the ways that we have fallen short, may time and spirit do their work to metabolize hardship into nutrients for new life. And for the seeds of blessing planted in your time here, may beauty, both hoped for and unexpected, spring forth in its own time. May it be so. And amen. Let's see if we can sing that one more time as any children who wish go out to their classes. But I'm not going to start it. Heaven, will you start us in that song, Even Fair from the Pew? The beauty of love, be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. May it be so.
Art, covenants, the divine. Reverend Marcus laid down a challenge in bringing these three concepts together in this month's worship theme. What is the relationship between art and the divine? And how do covenants interplay with both? And in my life's journey, what does that all mean to me? In one of my previous lives, the beauty I loved and the things that I did were in Prague, together with a fellow group of American expatriates. We founded and published a literary magazine called the Prague Review. Now, this project sought to bring together contemporary Czech and international authors and artists sharing a particular post-communist time in one of Central Europe's most magical cities. In one of the more accomplished editions of the Prague Review, we published an essay on contemporary American art, including Hopper's Nighthawks. And it was this work of art which came immediately to mind as I sat to contemplate this reflection. No work of art, to my mind, better reflects the theme of covenants and the divine than this masterpiece. Nighthawks explores the intricate web of connections, disconnections, and unspoken agreements that shape human interactions and our relationship with the great unknown, played out in the eternal time somewhere between midnight and dawn. Are the characters in the diner ending yesterday or beginning tomorrow in this timeless urban setting, which could just as well be an American metropolis or the waiting space between life and death known as purgatory? Taking the image in its entirety, the figures are physically close, yet emotionally distant, highlighting the fragile nature of human relationships and the unspoken covenants that govern social interactions. Each character is permitted by the other to share a space, while each remaining in their own private world. The couple at the counter display body language suggesting an intimate but uncomfortable connection. What is the covenant between these two? And is this covenant forming or breaking? Is the covenant even between the two of them, or are they betraying a covenant to parties unseen? The ambiguity of their private moment underscores the idea that covenants are not always explicit or overt, but can be implied through gestures, expressions, and shared experiences. The solitary man sitting alone at the counter embodies a sense of isolation and detachment. His presence in the diner suggests a break in the covenant of companionship and community, highlighting the loneliness and alienation that can arise when connections are severed or unfulfilled. The man's posture conveys a sense of resignation and introspection, hinting at a deeper narrative of loss. What covenant has he lost? Or what covenant does he seek which has gone unfulfilled? A covenant with his wife or with his male lover with whom he cannot be seen in public? Is it a covenant with his estranged children, or an unfulfilled covenant he made with his dying mother. Or perhaps the man is longing for, but incapable of entering into a covenant with God. The waiter behind the counter serves as a silent observer of the scene, a witness to the unspoken covenants that govern the interactions between the figures in the diner. Despite his role as a facilitator of social interaction, the waiter remains professionally detached and aloof, underscoring the transient and impersonal nature of urban relationships. Or perhaps the waiter plays a much more significant and divine role in the lives of these three customers. Perhaps he's not simply observing, but judging. Through the lens of covenants, Nighthawks becomes a meditation on the complexities of human relationships, the fragility of social bonds, and the unspoken agreements that govern our interactions. The painting invites viewers to reflect on the implicit covenants that shape our everyday lives, from the bonds of friendship and love to the agreements we make even with ourselves and with meaning itself. In a world marked by transience and uncertainty, Nighthawks serves as a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between connection and disconnection, covenants and isolation, the said and unsaid experience of the divine that defines the human experience.
I invite you to take a deeper breath, to take a moment to settle more deeply into your seat. Feel your connection down to this good, this holy earth. First a raven, then a dove, the story says. I think of first a raven, then a dove as my flight soars above the earth, above the clouds. Weary from all the flying, worried at all the flooding they search on. A ship on the water, no matter how holy its make and model, is no substitute for soil. And while the raven and the dove search, everyone else waited, cranky and hungry and afraid. Desperation can ruin even the most resolute faith. Every day, hunger and fear rip apart families and countries, and it's so easy to believe this could be the end of the story, that the bedtime tantrum or the unspoken pain between lovers or friends or the tons of carbon dioxide spilling from the plane or the latest salvo in the endless tit-for-tat or the horrors of a people massacred by modern military might could be the end of the story. And then by some mysterious grace, the dove returns. And a little scrap of green and brown, a twig, a leaf, an olive means life is still unfolding, means the earth is still turning, means we are still becoming. And as feet find new but familiar ground, as a loving glance is shared across the kitchen table in the fresh light of morning, as we recommit in rituals of repair, as treaties forge a fragile path ahead, we find ourselves held in a covenant, a promise, not of safety, but of multicolored mystery. For a moment, the shadow of the plane against the clouds is haloed in a rainbow circle. Even amidst destruction, beauty emerges. God of rainbows and the endless hope of repair, shelter us in the embrace of beauty. Inspire in us a love for this world that breaks through every despair, a love that allows us to keep caring, no matter how deep the water gets. May we rest in quiet and stillness in this love. In this community of care and witness, we hold one another through the seasons of our lives. We lift up those joys and sorrows among us. Today, we remember with Jason and send on her journey Jo, my good friend's mother, and my mother's close friend, passed away early Saturday morning with her son by her side. May all who knew her take comfort in her peace. And with Cindy, we send thoughts of strength to my sister-in-law and her congregation, her longtime church, burned to the ground this week. Help them find strength as they find their way to their new home. And with Elaine Miller, we're thinking about her mother. She writes, "I'm proud of my mother, Grace Ulp, for the huge adjustments she's navigating, going from living with Julie to having 24/7 healthcare attendance, and for Julie in her home of more than 60 years. And with someone we share gratitude for the inspiration. For these we have named, and for all that yet remains in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. May we know that what each of us brings here is held in the loving embrace of this community and by that wider, nameless love that knows no bounds, that cannot and will not let us go. May it be so, and amen. Will you sit as we sing together, "When Our Heart is in a Holy Place"? When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy
place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from the deepest side, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
"I've had so many rainbows in my clouds," said Maya Angelou. "I had a lot of clouds, but I had so many rainbows." The thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so you can be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. Somebody who may not look like you, may not call God the same name you call God, if they call God at all. They may not eat the same dishes prepared the way you do, may not dance your dances or speak your language, but be a blessing to somebody. That's what I think. be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. That early story of the rainbow, the Noah's Ark story, it's one of those stories we skate over sometimes as Unitarian Universalists. I heard a story of a Unitarian kid who responded to her first exposure to that story with a litany of questions. I'm imagining these are not unfamiliar questions to any of you who've discussed that particular story with kids. First of all, she said, how could two of every type of animal fit on the boat? And how could you survive with that much animal poop on the boat? And how could you deal with what if the animals fought or ate each other? And how did they have enough food or water for the humans and the animals for all of those days? And how did Noah keep the birds on the ship? And why did God harm all those humans and animals who hadn't done anything wrong? What did the dogs of the world, she asked, deserve? What did they do to deserve being murdered? It's a story of God breaking the covenant. There's this long, storied history of covenants getting broken. In fact, that's primarily when covenants come up in those old stories. It's when they're broken. In a way, that whole story of the Hebrew Bible, where the early roots of our understanding of covenant come from, it begins not as a promise that humans make to one another, as we often talk about it in contemporary Unitarian Universalism, but as the story of the relationship between living beings and the eternal. All our promises to one another are ultimately held first in our relationship with the more than human world. And the track record of that relationship, well, we know it's a bit bleak. Those old scriptures, they tell the story of the covenant between God and people being broken over and over again. God gets mad and floods the world, has to recovenant with the world, gives Noah the rainbow sign. New covenants are made through Abraham and Moses, the descendants of Aaron and David. Time and time again, God or the people fall short, lose tempers, break the covenant, and it must be repaired, renewed. And each time it changes, it shifts to embrace how things are now. Covenants get broken, covenants can be repaired, and covenants must change, adapt, evolve. But just as important as the fact that it changes, each time the covenant is repaired and renewed in those old stories, they don't start over from scratch. Each generation is born into a covenant already in place. Each time the covenant is changed, first it's inherited. And we have inherited a broken covenant with the earth. We live our lives day to day in a broken covenant with the earth. I took a flight this weekend to Portland for a memorial service of one of my childhood ministers, and I saw as I flew home that it's 1/4 ton of carbon dioxide just to get me there and back for the weekend. It'll take that tree, that beautiful redbud that we planted last week, a decade to sequester that much carbon. Living in a broken covenant with the earth. And sometimes that brokenness of the covenant, whether it's with the earth or with one another, it's marked by righteous anger. That's what happens in those old stories when God lets loose. It's what's happening on college campuses across our country. It's what's happening in protests across the world. a righteous anger. Things are not okay. I don't know what to do about it, but I have to do something. I think about in this moment where we're trying to figure out what our covenant is as a society that holds room for both free speech and to protect people from the harm that speech can do. I've been thinking about that icon of the free speech movement in our backyard, the People's Park. And if you've been by lately, you know it's its own militarized zone with shipping containers stacked too high surrounding the park and guards at every corner. How do we hold a covenant big and courageous enough to hold free speech and hate accountable? A covenant that rejects the ethic of control, that finds peace comes from a wilder and more free foundation of care. My mentor, my coach, Jake Morrill, who many of you saw in that charge that he gave me last week, he had a reflection I remember well from took it from a midrash, those kind of commentary on commentary of old Jewish stories, and a midrash on the Noah story. Said one midrash says that while some animals ate in the second hour of the night, others ate in the third hour of the day. So, then feeding them all, Noah and his family hardly tasted sleep, it says. They hardly tasted sleep through the whole storm and length of the flood. For month after month, the caregiving, the exhaustion, the whole world soaked through. And we think of all the places where disaster has struck all over the world, and the war zones in Ukraine and Palestine where people are scrambling to survive amidst the horrors and the violence. And in all those places, Jake reminds us, there are first responders, humanitarian aid workers tending to people and animals, even through their exhaustion. When they haven't tasted sleep and so much has been ruined, and sometimes the first responders wear a uniform, and sometimes the responders are parents or cousins or a neighbor, all acting not only out of duty but out of compassion, so that those in their care get just what it is that they need: the right medicine, the right food, the right way to be heard. In the story, he says, even before things are anywhere near fully dry and probably catching his breath from the round-the-clock animal care, Noah sends out a dove who comes back with an olive branch. And it's just a small thing, a twig, but it means everything, that after all, ruination isn't how it all ends, that new life was already rising up even before they could see it or would have ever dared hope. The world is ending, and yet it's somehow still worth working day and night to feed the animals, still worth following that impulse to care. The world is ending, and somehow it's still worth following that impulse to care. And I do believe this is what we were talking about a couple weeks ago, and we'll be talking about for the next few weeks. It is beauty that is at the center of that impulse to care. Our instinctual response to the beauty of the earth, to the beauty all around us, the beauty of humanity, is to care, is to love that beautiful thing. Beauty is what returns us again and again from that tendency to numb, to dissociate from a planet in peril, and our participation in its destruction returns us through awe and through grief, through a love of this world, through knowing we belong to it. And is there any clearer sign than the rainbow? Can you remember the last time you spent time looking at a rainbow? I feel like it's so often in the car I'm driving past, and I want to focus on the rainbow, and I don't want to get into an accident, but the rainbow Did you learn it as Roy G. Biv? Yeah. So how many colors in a rainbow? 7. It's not true. I'm sorry, this is one of my favorite jobs. I worked at the Exploratorium for a while, and we got this incredible training from scientists there, and one of them was a rainbow scientist. And he explained to us that no, there are only 6 colors in a rainbow, because we have 3 receptors for colors. Our eyes have cones for red and blue and yellow, and then we make up the matches in between. And Sir Isaac Newton, who identified those 7 colors, really wanted it to be 7 because that's a holy number, and he wanted the world to reflect the holy numbers that he had inherited, the covenant that he had inherited. Rainbows appear to exist out in the world but are really only occurring within our eyes. It has to do with internal and external refraction, and we're not going to get into that today, but the different colors have different wavelengths. We know this, right? And the red is the longest and the violet's the shortest. And so that old story of God offering the rainbow as a sign of a new covenant, I think there's actually kind of a precise mythopoetic logic to it. The rainbow is a sign coming out of the relationship between the interior and the exterior world, a sign that holds that we are responsible for co-creating the future of life unfolding. It happens in relationship. This is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you. A covenant for all generations to come, the old scripture says. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever a rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. The sign is a reminder to God in this story. A reminder to make room for all living creatures, not to lash out in righteous anger, but to seek a beautiful peace. And maybe this is the heart of covenant when things are broken, when our communities and our world are sundered by violence and its consequences. Covenant is the symbol that reminds us who we really are, what we really belong to, our place in the family of things. At the 2 Passover Seders I attended this week, we retold another old story of a covenant broken and remade. There he was, walking alone in the desert. Well, not quite alone. He had his sheep with him. He was a fugitive, ex-prince, shepherd, desert-dwelling, father of one, son-in-law of the local priest, walking alone. He had killed a man, ran away, and now was creating somewhat more or less normal life out there in the desert. Moses, the adopted son of Pharaoh's daughter, found in a reed basket on the river, had grown up and killed a man, not just any man, but an Egyptian overseer, in defense of another man, not just any man, but a Hebrew slave. He had killed an Egyptian in defense of a Hebrew. Righteous anger had led him to break the covenant, and now he was a fugitive living in the desert with a priest named Jethro and his 7 daughters, one of whom he married and had a son with. So Moses, adopted son, Hebrew, Egyptian, prince, lisping, murderer, fugitive, is walking alone in the desert. He's paying attention to the flock, but that can't take all of his attention, so his mind's wandering. He's probably preoccupied with this hectic life he's living. His thoughts are spinning when all of a sudden he notices something out of the corner of his eye amidst the bland normalcy of the dusty landscape. There's a bush on fire. It's possible, I think, here that Moses could have kept on walking. How many times do we walk on by the burning bushes trying to get our attention? Like, oh, smoke. Oh, I need to get those smoke alarms. I've been meaning to order them on Amazon. I get out my phone, and then I've seen a text message, and I am in another world. But he didn't do that. He didn't allow his preoccupation with his busy life to distract him completely from the extraordinary reality of the moment. He did not complacently continue walking, but instead allowed that peripheral glance of a blazing bush to awaken him to the present paradise, the holy ground he was already on. And he stopped, he turned, he shifted his vision, and he truly beheld the burning bush, the angel of the Lord appearing to him in a flame of fire coming out of a bush that was blazing and not consumed. The brilliant light blinded him. The heat of the flames licked at his skin. Stop. Take off your shoes. Let nothing be a barrier between you and the earth to which you belong. You are standing on holy ground. I had a burning bush one time on a street retreat with the faithful fools in San Francisco, spending a week sleeping out on the steps of a church there and eating meals in the soup kitchens and gathering with a group of spiritual seekers to reflect on the journey together. And I was in some kind of a daze, but a little less preoccupied than usual since I was on retreat when a mural caught my attention, standing on the corner of St. Anthony's Soup Kitchen. The mural, it took me a number of minutes to realize as I fully took it in, was depicting that very intersection where I stood. On the right side, the intersection was just as it was, traffic lights and cars racing by, the chain link fence with street folks leaning against it, the line of ashen faces waiting for lunch at St. Anthony's. The color gray dominated the panel as it did the streets around. And on the left side, the panel was also a mural of that very same spot, but instead of the first panel's stark depiction as the streets as they were, the second panel blazed with the vision of what could be, where I could see a parking lot across the street. This burning vision showed a lush park with community vegetable garden and a neighborhood potluck in progress, where kids had been walking in a line holding tight to a rope for safety while crossing the street. Here they were running on the grass alongside happy llamas wearing vests, blazing with an emblem, lawn maintenance department, where I could see busy paved streets full of cars emitting pound after pound of carbon dioxide. This flaming angel of the artist's imagination showed me dirt paths with bicycles and children running, trees and grassy lanes, rainwater catch systems, wind turbines, and solar panels on building tops. On the first panel, the street sign directing the traffic declared one way. And on the second, the sign offered another way. This second panel, this imaginal vision of the city as it could be, called me shouting, "Stop, take off your shoes. You are standing on holy ground." The mural said to me in the same thundering voice it's always used, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the bush said to Moses. The one and glorious spirit of life, known by many names, spark of creativity, essence of beauty that has always called to us. that we covenant with and break covenant with and covenant with yet again over and over, that calls to us to see burning bushes everywhere, to live in a paradise fully alive, vibrant with rainbow color, that calls us toward a world devoid of slaves, devoid of poverty, devoid of war, a world of justice brimming with love. In this paradise here and now, there are burning bushes all around us, reminding us of broken covenants and the call to serve beauty by making justice. Let the beauty of the world prepare you to be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud, to make again and again a full spectrum covenant of care. Stop. Take off your shoes. You're standing on holy ground. May it be so, and amen.
We invite you now into the spiritual practice of generosity. Instead of passing the plate, you can give electronically by scanning the QR code on the back of your badge, or you can put cash or check donation into the envelope that you'll find in the back of the pew in front of you. Please write your name on it and mark offering plate or pledge, and then you can put it in the donation box beside the fountain in the atrium as you leave the service today. Each week, half of our offering plate is shared with a nonprofit Good Neighbor organization, which is recommended by our Social Justice Council. Thank you all so much for practicing generosity with UUCB and with our good neighbors. Offerings of any amount are accepted with gratitude. The Good Neighbor for this month is Bay Area Outreach Program, BORP, which works to improve the health and independence and social integration of people with physical disabilities through sports, fitness, and recreation programs. At BORP, they believe that sports and recreation provides a path to greater achievement to which all people should have access, and they continually strive to make this a reality. Thank you. Please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
I want to let you know about a few things happening in the life of our community. If you ever want to find this information, you can always go to our website and check out the week ahead under the news section. I want to lift up this week that next Sunday, a couple of special things going on. At 9:30 a.m. in our personal theology series, Dr. Victoria Lee is sharing the poetry of Rumi. And she's a psychologist, an author, singer, and longtime member of UCB. She'll discuss and recite her favorite Rumi poems. Maybe we'll hear more about Let the Beauty You Love Be What You Do, which will also carry through our Doctors of Durability service next Sunday. And then at 2 o'clock that same afternoon, Barry Zuckerman and Pierre Divigny recital. They have a recital, an afternoon of romantic and modern art songs from Schumann, Brahms, Ravel, and R. Strauss. So stick around after church, plan to if you can. And lastly, to celebrate Earth Day, we are announcing, I have this on good authority from Phil Maynard, the expert, the first sighting of the 2024 UUCB owlettes. 2 baby owls, better than even doves or ravens, making their home in the eaves, just outside in a nest high above the rafters, just behind this rainbow here. So if you can go out and gaze, they're under the watchful gaze of their mom, and I hope you'll get a chance to see them. It's glad they're making their home here with us. Will you rise once more in body or spirit, and we'll sing a closing hymn together.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my silent heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in water, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the
or touch a shoulder. Let us be connected. Oh, my ship's companions, as we sail around, let us be moved by the beauty of our blue boat home again and again, moved that we might make our own lives and the lives of all around us beautiful as rainbows. May it be so, and amen.